Hello Pisces, and welcome to your monthly reading. It's going to run, so I guess, middle of September to the middle of October. And guys, I hope you can help. I need to beat the Google algorithm, and they're like really slamming down the videos that are longer. I really want to continue giving you proper like video reading. Maybe you have noticed that readers are cut it down to 15 minutes or 10 minutes, and just in order to try to please Google. So please share, like, comment. That is all basically going to beat the algorithm. So let's see what is in store for you, my dear Pisces. Over here you have Judgment. Judgment is one of my karma cards, and as such it's extremely important. So let's, where do I even start here? So here we have that sort of like thumbs up, whatever it is. Let's see how you did on your exam being this life, exam being how did you live it, right? So it is about karma fulfilled, it's about work well done. And look at that, this was the ending, and now there is like this resurrection sort of a thing. This is really talking about new purpose, new ambitions. It is really relating to Pluto, so it can actually really talk about also the moon. And it kind of like has almost like a feeling of rewards, especially when it's upright. It's kind of like, it's almost sometimes I feel paid forward kind of a thing, right? So this is also relating to master number 22, even though this is 20, as it is extremely important. It's kind of like collective force, kind of like a type. And symbol here is cross, which kind of like talks about, hey, you know, there are different paths. You can go this way, you can go this way. Ultimately, you need to kind of like really choose, right? So this also is really important to kind of like think that there is a purification. So if you guys have health issues, maybe you have some mucus discharge, you really need to kind of like purify your blood and your lymphatic system. Lymphatic system in particular is really hard to purify, and you really need to move. That's one of those things that you really need your elbow grease to do that, in order to do that. Either that, or I believe sauna or something like that. So it's really important here to address maybe period of overindulgence. If you've been through overindulgence, then maybe you should take herb that is called golden seal. It's just kind of like a tonic and sort of like antibiotic that really helps. But also you need to stop eating too many sweets, as I feel that some of you develop these extreme cravings over here. But this can also talk about the cravings maybe really were needed because you needed more power for your brain to really function. So hence kind of like that has developed. So clearly we are talking about the kingdom of God right here, or universe, and we are like emerging, reborn over here. So that's the judgment day or awakening, and it's kind of like heralds a rite of passage, sort of like one cycle is coming to an end, and we need to prepare for a new stage of our development. And hello, our future is waiting. So this is kind of like the end of the journey through the major arcana. So this kind of like symbolizes that the appointment time in a sort of like phase where, you know, a summing up of the process is required. So all of these experiences that we have gained from 0 to 20 right now are actually revalued and examined. That's what I said in the beginning, like thumbs up, let's see, like drop your pen, let's see what you did, right? So this particular month will be a time where actions, decisions, and choices are really looked at with sort of like benefit of hindsight. So you're not going to go cluelessly forward. You'll be saying, oh no, I remember I dealt with this, right? So you'll be really well rewarded for the choices that have been sound, but also you might be required to pay the price for ill-chosen decisions. This is not like, oh, okay, well, let's see, there are all these pluses and minuses and it ends up in the plus. No, that's not how it works. this really works, this is all great, and this is maybe pushing you further in karma, but all of this other stuff, okay, so let's see how to do it. Let's see how to make you understand this, right? So this is basically this time for this final stage of purification, and yeah, that even transformation before your journey is fully completed, right? So judgment really makes the final resolution. So that's the completion of the karmic cycle. So hey, we are reaping what we have sown. So as this is one of my karma cards in this particular case, this means karma fulfilled. It also really talks about awakening of kind of like sorts. So there is like certain change in consciousness. Look at this, I'm dead, but you see, this is our mortal approach to I'm dead, right? Nothing more, put a fork in me. But this is really talking about, okay dokie, right? So let's see, like opening this doorway to basically that higher purpose, right? If you guys need to heal, and that's why we see the sun in this particular deck coming through, even in this card, which is usually wrapped in darkness over here. This can really be extreme, and it can really talk about that it could be painful, just like in this card, going through the purification process. It's almost like fasting and clearing out the things, purging, right? But you will guys emerge really reborn, renewed, and quite a bit wiser for the experience, right? So keep in mind that in order to be reborn, you must go through the death, and then transformation, and then rebirth, and that's sort of like that trifecta of the purifying process. So this is for those of you who don't really follow religious studies, that will be the Archangel Gabriel, who is blowing his golden horn, and the horn is basically the instrument of quote unquote final liberation, and is the symbol of that biblical day of judgment. So this is kind of like divine breath and cosmic fire, and I really think some people call him angel of water, right? So interestingly enough, maybe because of his approach, this is also relating quite a bit to music. And we have 7 basic musical tones, and they are seen actually by usually lines that should radicate from the horn, but not in this particular deck, right? So horn is considered creativeness. So if you guys are in the music field, or this is how you make your living with some kind of creation, this is going to catapult you in something completely else. So we see here basically figures rising from the coffins of the judgment card, right? In the other decks they're really gray in color, but not in this one. So gray is like kind of that connectivity with God, and here is like still telling me in this particular deck that there is like still some element of purification that needs to happen. However, it is also telling me that you're maybe even more grounded in your approach. It's not kind of like all or nothing over here for you, but it's more or less that, it's kind of blending kind of a thing over here, right? So it's very important, right? So this card is ruled by Pluto, as I told you, and Pluto is really talking about the illumination process, because Pluto is that one that represents like death and transformation, regeneration, but it's also kind of destroyer and rebuilder. So this is not going to be very much an option, because Pluto is associated with Scorpio, that represents, and that is like that urge to become much greater than yourself. This is very ambitious, I gotta tell you. This is like taking 3 grades in one. This is like, okay, I have like one thing to do, but I'm going to put 5 things on my plate, right? Since this card is also in the traditional decks linked with moon, even though here they are showing the sun, this can sometimes talk about emotional things, or it could be talk about some nurturing figure. It could be even mother over here, or it's going to bring that nurturing in us. So it will kind of like talk about some kind of like places where we kind of like really need to retreat and hide, and also kind of like that we will examine how kind of like how our feelings kind of like respond in life, right? So think about this really, that there are wonderful beginnings that are going to happen, but they will rely upon your judgment. So this is really time that you need to make all changes, everything that you desire. This is it. Pack it down, write it down, and you will thank me later. You are really being blessed with really positive cosmic energy, so make the most of them, right? Now, also, this is really talking about if you have been working on it and you felt like you didn't get anywhere, that this is going to correct all these injustices, and you'll be really inspired to work toward this future, and you'll accept, yeah, maybe material success will come later, but you will kind of like really feel good about that. You will not think anymore in conventional thinking, because think about it, that you're almost like getting this breath of God over here coming through it, right? So, as you sow, so shall you reap, kind of a thing, as it says, right? So there are going to be also some new developments. It might feel that you're going to be looking into your own self, like, kind of like assess your life and assess your lifestyle. It might be kind of like very positive appraisal, and you'll say, oh, well, that's pretty much what I wanted, and now I feel finally, and you're going to like feel the satisfaction achievement. But you might also feel like a shift, like that vibrational shift, like fine-tuning a piano, kind of like, hey, but I am looking to the future without fear, without any kind of trepidation, right? So you might actually go through significant changes. This might be new relationships, new careers, new home, new residence. It's renewal, but clearly, spiritually, you're going to start feeling differently, right? If you're going through legal stuff, this can indicate judgment in your favor, and kind of like you will be realizing that there is no need for unwanted kind of like ties anymore. So this is kind of going to be completely different change in consciousness. So if you guys want a new relationship, that's going to be really cool, and you're not going to look into superficiality of this relationship, rather going to look, well, how do I feel about that? Now, if you kind of like already are in a relationship, then you're going to feel like really fate, and you're going to feel it is time to propose, or it's time to get married, and it's going to be really kind of like cool in that kind of like way. So also keep in mind that because this card is all about witness, God's witness kind of a thing. Well, literally, it can mean that you will be called for jury duty, right? And maybe police and courts will be involved over here. So it is the end of one phase and the start of a new one. But just like on the kind of like a table game, you can only move on after you take a good look at kind of like everything that was in the past, and you need to forgive, more or less yourself for mistakes that you have made. It's not really easy task. It's really, really important. I have basically seen this in Aquarian reading as well, and I basically said, look, don't dwell on something, just drop it. Within days of the reading, I was watching Nadal-Medvedev tennis match. If you don't know, I am a big tennis fan. And in that match, Medvedev being Aquarius, I believe Nadal is Gemini. Don't quote me on that. I would guess him as Gemini, because two of them have very much air quality. But Aquarians have much higher vibration. They're very close to your vibration, Pisces. So Medvedev, in his last speech, take a look, Google US Open 2019 final ceremony, and you will hear Medvedev talking and can say, well, you know, I was saying certain things before badly, but I want to apologize. And you can hear the crowd cheering him for rendering that apology. It's absolutely spectacular, and I do advise just for the sheer proof to see kind of like how this release is seen and how it's going to feel. So maybe you're going to be more enthused to do it. Well, you see, there was like something that didn't feel right. It could be juggling. It could be that life got in the way. It could be so many things have been happening. You really didn't know how to reconcile things. You really didn't know how to move forward. Like Two of Pentacles, it can really mean that somebody was juggling you guys, or that you have really kind of like bad taste in your mouth about it. It's kind of like, hey, kind of like leave me alone. But I don't know, like, I mean, if this is really talking maybe being, you're being a little bit irresponsible with your money. This is really calling to kind of organize stuff. That is saying that things can actually get unpredictable. And again, look, this is like the karmic influence that kind of like is talking about. Maybe you're not ready to put sort of like a period on something, but you really need to kind of like push things forward because this was it. And then you have the King of Wands. I really like that scene because he is opening his arms over here. So you might have somebody who will be a savior. It could be a man. Kings strongly indicate men, but this is a general reading, so it can really work both ways in this particular situation. King of Wands is sort of like a doer of tarot. It's somebody who says, okay, we gotta do this, right? This is really important. Let's go in this direction. It's some kind of like respected leader, but it also can talk about a very mature attitude in a situation. Oh, we have Star. And so there is that feeling of hopelessness that somehow entered somewhere on some level. You are very unhappy. You were very unhappy, or rather to say in past tense, you were very unhappy about yourself. Whenever the Star shows up, it's more or less telling me what needs to evolve and where it needs to evolve, right? Because this is kind of like that light inside of you that you seek. This is also about some kind of healing, guys. Lady Star is reminding us basically that you're really connected to God, universe. This is like, I mean, a double confirmation over here, right? So it's kind of like a hope, something that maybe you just even thought it just cannot happen. Now you're feeling, well, it can happen, it should happen, kind of a thing, right? So let's see what you have been dealing with in the past. It could have been some kind of like family issues. This to me card always talks about family gatherings, and sometimes it's really difficult because there is like this procession of generations, and everybody, you feel, you know, you're in the best space because the elderly feel they can basically put this wisdom on. Certain like middle-aged people say, well, wait a minute, I'm my own man or my own woman, I really need to kind of carve my own life. It's sort of like, let's call it adjustment when I see that. This card means so much more. It can really talk about, hey, you know, this can be inheritance. It can, and somebody may have really died in your case, where maybe like your kind of like issues maybe also could have been that you have spent too much money, right? So there is like clearly some kind of support that you had from the family in the past, and it looks like that was saving grace for you in the situation. So the goals that you have set for yourself are more like earthy goals. When I see Six of Wands, and please take a look at Virgo's reading, they had this as a bottom card. I went into extremely detailed explanation about that. It's very important because also it's important that you have like two naked ladies over here. This is really talking about you are not accepting fakeness anymore. You really want to know what's going on and where it's going. So, however, these two cards are clashing a little bit. One is talking about in the interest of everybody. So they don't have to clash, but they could clash. And this is like in self-interest. So you really need to see really from this position, because this is extremely powerful card that is really talking about it. So it's really asking you to shed something from the past. So if this is still referring to your old goals and how you dealt with things, maybe you need to kind of like figure out if they are in alignment with everything else that is going on. And is this about win-win situation, or in order for you to win, somebody has to lose, in which case that's not really going to work very well. But you might still experience victory, keep it in mind, but then it's going to say, like, I mean, I have a little kind of like, I will take you a notch down because of that. And then you have like this Eight of Cups. There is like this walking away from something. Like, to me, this is really interesting card. This card doesn't mean and doesn't have to be permanent. It could be just simply, well, you know, I have to try. I have to simply see if this is better for me. I have to see if this kind of like works. It's like kitty cat leaving, you know, in the evening to kind of like check out the bushes and everything that is in there. But I'm pretty sure like kitty cat has a plan to maybe stay out there if there is like something really interesting, or really come back if kind of like there is like a thing to do. This can also talk about kind of like you losing interest of some kind, which, I don't know, this winning can actually refers to, there is like somebody who you felt like you need to win somebody over, and this benefactor, this kind of like person who is here, it's almost like that you place this person on a pedestal. This can be a person that you want to have a family with or something like that, because I can see these noble ideas. You're really seeing things can really work out. This also could mean that you are really trying to figure out how to position your life, and what really, so instead of like thinking about a particular person, I want this man or I want this woman, whichever way is your preference, you will think, I want love, which is the right way of thinking. You see, this is kind of interesting. When you come here at the pearly gates, they will ask you, well, do you want black or white? And generally we blur it out, one or the other, and the answer is neither. It's one of those trick questions, right? So let's see. Oh, this is powerful. You're getting Nine of Pentacles. I am clearly seeing your reading is connecting to Virgo's reading. So please listen to it. This to me is the card of independence and feeling right. Maybe you have asked your family to give you a loan. You have asked your family to support you through some situation. And now feeling completely comfortable. You're feeling, maybe you had to leave somebody. And now you're feeling comfort into where you are. It's the process took place. And you're feeling really, really good. This also talks about a little bit of luxury, a little bit of kind of like pushing things forward, and really enjoying kind of like maybe some kind of like gift made to yourself. It could be some special kind of like spa treatment. It's going to be really something that you will know that you need to honor yourself, right? So this is also about winning and luck. And so if you're playing lottery, that can be one of those things that it feels like, yep, I earned this because I played for 20 years and now I know it is my time, kind of a thing. And then we have the Environment Tower. Somebody's not going to like what's happening over here. I don't know, can you see this like phoenix kind of like raising from the ashes? This is really talking about the structures. It can be phallic, but it's generally talking about structures that are no longer supportive. Something did not like withstand this tower. Think about this like Cat 5 hurricane kind of a thing, right? It just like something didn't stand the test of time, right? So when the Tower shows up, right, it's really saying it's affecting everybody equally. This is literally one of those life things where it's kind of like act of God, as they call it, right? So you may have had some kind of walls. Maybe you kind of like felt imprisoned. Maybe this is literal, maybe this is just metaphorical. And you really need to blow them up. And it's going to be that collapse and explosion. And it's going to be somebody from the outside that is really coming and stepping here. Like somebody with lots of hubris. But this is also connecting to enlightenment. And since it's your environment segment, I'm really wondering over here if this really represents a person. This is like ruled with Mars, this particular card, but it can be Pluto, because it actually talks about that sometimes changes need to be made outside and sometimes inside and sometimes both. So there will be, I don't really think it's going to be you, but you're going to be almost like observing somebody going through difficulties, and you're going to almost like think to yourself, oh, good, I could have been there. But it's going to be that release. It's almost like you're going to like you have left to feel comfort, to feel strong. Really, for some of you, you have left some situation, and now you're feeling, I made a good decision. If some of you are still going through a situation and you're like thriving, well, I need to win, etc., etc., you really need to rethink your act about that. You really need to see if this is even beneficial in the situation. Queen of Swords. And again, I didn't like this Virgo reading, quite a bit of parallels over here. Mind you, Virgo has spanking spectacular reading, and I almost like said the F word, and I really refuse to swear because that really attracts bad luck. Queen of Swords, hopes and fears. So you really want to gain wisdom. You really want to be cool. Queen of Wands is really, really close to self-understanding, right? Only King of Swords will be higher. So it is almost like the highest level that we humans can reach spiritually. And it's the highest where versus, let's say, King of Cups and Queen of Cups, which kind of like talks about the deepest depth which can be reached emotionally. So it's kind of like looking at things from different angles, sort of thing, right? So Queen of Swords is really talking about somebody who's been through thick and thin, who is fair, but who is also very shrewd. I really think you will be shedding things this particular month that no longer serve purpose. And like, because this is coming in fears, I really don't think, and hopes as well, and this is a hope card, and this is telling me you have shed fears, and this is really telling me this is a very resolute decision moving forward kind of a thing. And it's only one way, and that way you're saying this is the way it has to be. You're almost like putting your foot down. This is going to be really, really strong. Maybe you have somebody who is continuously creating conflict in your life. Maybe you're having somebody who is continuously feeling like that you're like on a banana peel, and you're going to say, no, not even one more time. I'm not going to do it. Next time it happens, this is it. You're out. That's sort of like, and you're going to totally get it. And look at this big behind. And Ten of Wands is sort of like saying the true directions. It's really interesting. It goes from your own goals to where it really should be. You should actually really aim higher. You should go for more things that you think you can handle. Ten of Wands, it's really interesting card. It really talks about, look, he's almost like breaking his back over here, grabbing all of it, but like this is like now 9 and 10 and 10. Like we have, like you are finalizing something, you're putting those final touches, right? Keep in mind the Ten of Wands can also talk about secrets. Ten of Wands can talk about kind of like again, feeling like it almost like looks like spiritually you're evolving and you're going back and forth between feeling fears or facing threats, something like that. Because this to me is like about protection. This is to me about kind of like getting a little bit harder. You know, like you're a Pisces, you're like that sweet, super emotional, let me give you a big hug. But this particular month, right? Like the only water card that we have is, well, actually we have this one, and telling you almost like that you need to embark on a really completely different journey. And this is it, right? You might not, you might aim to kind of like grab much more because this is a stage 6 and this is 10, but don't again burden yourself with taking on too much and like collapsing as a result of it. So there's going to be lots of things happening this month, my dear Pisces, and you already have realized that you have some support system. You have realized who works in your life, who doesn't work in your life, and we'll go from there. You got a card here which is Heal the Ouch, and it was reversed, and isn't this freaking the cutest? I like both raccoons and foxes. And let me read this one for you guys to seal the reading. And it says forgiveness is the healer of the soul. Reversed. This card is a message urging you to make amends for any harm you have done to another. Appraise yourself honestly. How have you been selfish, greedy, or inconsiderate of others? Have you harbored resentment toward those who have harmed you in the past? Practice deep and radical forgiveness. In order to be free, to know healing, you must surrender your old hurts and begin anew. Forgiving yourself and loving yourself is important too. Be humble and willing to admit your weaknesses. Know the imperfections of the human personality. Walk tall as you take the path of the shaman, the wise elder who is willing to go into the shadows to bring healing light to old wounds. You guys are going to do freaking fantastic job this month, but you really need to open yourself up to the growth. You need to even open yourself up to criticism. You need to say, I want to take it. I want to tackle it. You maybe had so far saying, oh, it's hard. I just wish somebody would help me. And maybe your family stepped in and they kept you going. Now you're going to feel that you can and you want to push it further. So you need to be shrewd about how you go about things. You need to tackle things that are really important. And the really important is like, do I really need to do it now? Is it really important? Does it bring money to me? Does it bring a peace of mind? Is it beneficial for my health and the health for my close ones? If the answers are not these questions, yes to these questions, then maybe it's not that important and you have to switch something else and put it forward. So it's going to be a month where you're going to really organize yourself, and not only your shelves and your fridge and your closets, but your thoughts. And as this is pushing in a new phase, this new phase is going to be really lovely. But this means you still have to decide, to do that quote-unquote spring cleaning or winter clean, not clinging, I said clinging, Freudian slip, spring cleaning, or rather to say fall cleaning, unless you're in Australia when it's going to be spring cleaning. So my dear Pisces, it will be cool to see and hear from you and your comments and help me with my algorithm. Please also check your ascendant and check your moon sign. It's going to give you a little bit a bigger picture. You can get free 3-card reading on my website, cattarot.ca. You can also go to cattarot.ca and order the reading, and this is a really good special for all of you, so it's something really to take advantage of. And lastly, all my information is down in the description. You can contact me and let's chat if you have some comments, or if not, if you don't feel shy, then just place them right in there in the description. So until the next time, Pisces, all the best, and looking forward to hearing from you. Love you guys.